If you're over 50 and you've noticed that your legs don't feel as strong as they used to, that climbing stairs takes more effort, that getting up from a chair requires a little push, that your balance feels uncertain when you're walking on uneven ground, you've probably been told this is just part of getting older. Maybe your doctor said it's arthritis. Maybe a friend told you everyone deals with this eventually. And maybe you've been prescribed painkillers to help you manage. But here's what most people never hear. Leg weakness after 50 is rarely just about aging, and it's almost never something painkillers can fix. The real cause of declining leg power has nothing to do with pain management, and everything to do with a hidden biological process that happens silently in your muscles and nervous system. It's something that can be measured, explained, and most importantly, reversed. But only if you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to explain the science behind why your legs lose power after 50, why the conventional approach of masking discomfort doesn't address the root problem, and what you can do to restore strength, stability, and confidence in your movement. This isn't about fitness trends or miracle solutions. This is about understanding your body the way a medical researcher does and using that knowledge to take back control. Let's start with what's really happening when your legs lose power. Most people assume that leg weakness is caused by muscle shrinkage. And while it's true that muscle mass does decline with age, a process called sarcopenia, that's only part of the story. The more significant problem, and the one that's often completely overlooked, is something called neuromuscular deactivation. Here's how it works. Your muscles don't operate independently. They're controlled by your nervous system, which sends electrical signals from your brain down through your spinal cord and out to every muscle fiber in your body. When you decide to stand up, climb stairs, or shift your weight, your brain activates specific muscles in a precise sequence. This communication happens so automatically that you don't even think about it. But after decades of repetitive movement patterns, reduced physical challenge, and age-related changes in nerve conductivity, something happens. The communication between your brain and certain muscles begins to weaken. Not because the muscles are gone, but because the neural pathways that activate them have become underused. It's similar to a road that hasn't been traveled in years. The road is still there, but it's overgrown, hard to navigate, and eventually your brain stops trying to use it. This is especially true for what we call stabilizer muscles, the smaller, deeper muscles around your hips, knees, and ankles that control balance and coordination. These muscles don't get activated when you're sitting, standing still, or walking on flat, predictable surfaces. Over time, if you're not regularly challenging your body with varied movement, your nervous system essentially forgets how to recruit them. The result is that your legs feel weak, unstable, or unresponsive, not because you've lost all your muscle, but because your brain has stopped fully activating what you still have. There's also a circulatory component. Blood flow to your muscles decreases with inactivity, and that reduction in circulation means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching the tissue. Muscle cells that aren't being used efficiently begin to atrophy faster. The fascia, the connective tissue surrounding your muscles, becomes tighter and less elastic. All of this compounds the problem. So when you feel like your legs have lost power, what you're often experiencing is a combination of neural deactivation, reduced circulation, and disuse, not irreversible aging. And that distinction is critical because it means the problem is addressable. Now let's talk about why painkillers don't solve this. Painkillers, whether over-the-counter anti-inflammatories or prescription opioids, are designed to do one thing: reduce your perception of pain. They work by blocking pain signals in your nervous system or reducing inflammation in your tissues. And in the short term, that can be helpful. If you're dealing with acute pain from an injury or a flare-up of arthritis, reducing that pain can help you move more comfortably while your body heals. But here's the problem. Painkillers don't restore muscle activation. They don't improve circulation. They don't rebuild neural pathways. They don't strengthen stabilizer muscles. All they do is mask the discomfort that's alerting you to an underlying issue. In fact, long-term use of painkillers can make the problem worse. When pain is artificially suppressed, people often move in ways that further stress weakened or misaligned structures. You might feel comfortable enough to walk or climb stairs, but if your stabilizer muscles aren't firing correctly, you're reinforcing faulty movement patterns. Over time, this leads to compensation. Other muscles take over the work, become overloaded, and create new sources of pain and weakness. There's also the issue of dependency. Many older adults find themselves taking painkillers daily, not because they're in acute pain, but because they've come to rely on them to function. And with that comes the risk of side effects: gastrointestinal issues, kidney strain, increased risk of falls due to dizziness, and in the case of opioids, addiction. I'm not saying painkillers have no place in medicine. They do. But they are not a solution to leg weakness, and they should never be treated as one. If your goal is to restore power, stability, and confidence in your movement, you need to address the root cause, and that requires reactivation, not suppression. So what is the hidden mechanism that most people never hear about? It's the shutdown of your body's movement intelligence. Your body is designed to adapt. When you challenge it with varied, dynamic movement, it responds by strengthening muscles, improving coordination, and maintaining the neural connections that keep everything working smoothly. But when movement becomes repetitive, limited, or overly cautious, your body adapts in the opposite direction. It reduces energy expenditure by deactivating systems it doesn't think you need anymore. This is why someone who's been sedentary for years can still have relatively intact muscle mass, but feel completely unable to perform basic movements like balancing on one leg or stepping up onto a curb. The muscle is there, but the brain has stopped sending the signals required to use it effectively. This is also why traditional strength training alone often doesn't work for older adults. If you go to a gym and sit on a leg extension machine, you might strengthen your quadriceps, but you're not teaching your brain how to stabilize your body during real-world movement. You're not activating the small muscles in your hips and ankles that prevent you from wobbling when you walk on uneven ground. You're not restoring the reflexive coordination that keeps you from falling when you lose your balance. What you need is not just strength. You need integration. You need to reteach your nervous system how to activate the right muscles at the right time in the right sequence. That's what restores leg power. And the only way to do that is through movement that mimics the demands of daily life. Movement that challenges your balance, requires coordination, and forces your stabilizer muscles to wake up and do their job. This brings us to the solution: movement-based restoration. The good news is that your nervous system is remarkably adaptable, even after decades of inactivity. The process of rebuilding these neural pathways is called neuroplasticity, and it works at any age. When you begin challenging your body with the right kinds of movement, your brain starts sending signals down those overgrown pathways again. At first, it feels awkward and difficult, but with repetition, the communication improves. The muscles start firing more efficiently. Your balance improves. Your confidence returns. This doesn't require a gym membership or expensive equipment. It doesn't require you to become an athlete. What it requires is consistency, patience, and a willingness to move your body in ways that feel challenging but safe. The key is to focus on exercises that restore function, not just build muscle. These are movements that activate your stabilizer muscles, improve your coordination, and teach your brain to control your legs with precision. Let me walk you through 5 essential exercises that do exactly that. Exercise 1. The single leg stand. This is one of the most underrated exercises for leg power, and it's also one of the most revealing. Stand next to a wall or a sturdy chair for safety, then lift one foot off the ground and hold your balance. That's it. No jumping, no weights, just standing on one leg. Why does this work? Because balancing on one leg forces your brain to activate every stabilizer muscle in your hip, knee, and ankle. It requires constant micro adjustments from muscles that have likely been dormant for years. It also improves proprioception, your body's ability to sense where it is in space, which is critical for preventing falls. Most people over 50 can't hold a single leg stand for more than a few seconds when they first try. That's normal. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to practice. Start with 5 seconds, then 10, then 20. Use the wall for light support if needed, but try to rely on it less over time. Common mistake: holding your breath. Breathe normally. Tension in your upper body makes balance harder, not easier. Exercise 2. The sit to stand without hands. Sit in a sturdy chair with your feet flat on the ground, hip width apart. Cross your arms over your chest, lean forward slightly, and stand up without using your hands to push off. Then lower yourself back down with control. Why does this work? Because standing up from a chair is one of the most fundamental movements of daily life, and it requires coordinated activation of your glutes, quadriceps, and core. When people start relying on their hands to push off, it's often because their leg muscles are no longer firing in the correct sequence. This exercise restores that pattern. The key is control. Don't throw yourself up out of the chair. Don't collapse back down. Move slowly and deliberately. If you can't do it without hands yet, use your hands lightly for assistance, but work toward removing them. Common mistake: letting your knees cave inward. Keep your knees aligned over your toes throughout the movement. Exercise 3. The heel-to-toe walk. Walk in a straight line, placing the heel of one foot directly in front of the toes of the other with each step, as if you're walking on a tightrope. Keep your arms out to the sides for balance if needed. Why does this work? Because this movement challenges your balance in a dynamic way. Unlike standing still on one leg, you're shifting your weight with every step, which forces your stabilizer muscles and your vestibular system, the balance center in your inner ear, to work together. This is exactly the kind of coordination your body needs for safe, confident walking. Start with just 10 steps. Focus on smooth, controlled movement. If you feel unsteady, do this near a wall. Common mistake: rushing. Speed is not the goal. Stability is. Exercise 4. The calf raise with a pause. Stand with your feet hip width apart, holding onto a counter or the back of a chair for light support. Rise up onto the balls of your feet, pause for 2 seconds at the top, then lower back down slowly. Why does this work? Your calves are critical for walking, balance, and circulation. When you rise onto your toes, you're activating the muscles that push you forward with every step. The pause at the top forces those muscles to work isometrically, which builds endurance. The slow lowering phase strengthens the tendons around your ankle, which improves stability. Do this slowly. If you bounce up and down quickly, you're not giving the muscles time to fully engage. Common mistake: locking your knees. Keep a slight bend throughout the movement to protect your joints. Exercise 5. The sidestepping walk. Stand with your knees slightly bent and take a step to the side with your right foot. Then bring your left foot to meet it. Continue stepping sideways for 10 to 15 steps, then reverse direction. Why does this work? Because most of our daily movement happens in a straight line, forward and backward. We rarely move side to side, which means the muscles on the sides of our hips, the abductors, become weak and underused. These muscles are essential for lateral stability, which is what prevents you from losing your balance when you step off a curb or shift your weight unexpectedly. This exercise wakes them up. Keep your hips level. Don't let your torso lean to the side. Move with control. Common mistake: taking steps that are too wide. Start with small steps and focus on smooth, controlled movement. Now let's talk about what results you can realistically expect. In the first 2 to 3 weeks, most people notice improvements in their confidence and body awareness. You'll start to feel more stable when you're standing. You'll notice that you're catching yourself more quickly when you lose your balance. These are signs that your nervous system is waking up. By 4 to 6 weeks, you'll begin to notice functional improvements. Stairs feel easier. Getting out of a chair doesn't require as much effort. You might find that you're walking faster or with less hesitation. This is when the neural pathways have started to rebuild and your muscles are beginning to fire more efficiently. By 8 to 12 weeks, the changes become more substantial. Your legs feel noticeably stronger. Your balance is more reliable. You're able to move with greater confidence in a wider variety of situations. This is when people often say they feel like they've gotten their independence back. But here's the important part. These changes require consistency. You don't need to do these exercises for an hour every day. 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week is enough. What matters is that you keep showing up. Your nervous system needs repetition to relearn these patterns. Before you begin, there are a few important warnings. If you have a history of severe balance issues, frequent falls, uncontrolled diabetes, significant heart disease, or recent surgery, you should speak with a healthcare provider before starting any new movement program. These exercises are designed to be safe for most people, but individual circumstances vary. If you feel sharp pain, dizziness, or shortness of breath during any of these movements, stop immediately. Discomfort is normal when you're challenging your body. Pain is a signal that something is wrong. And if you're taking medications that affect your balance or blood pressure, be especially cautious. Have a sturdy surface nearby for support, and consider asking someone to be present when you first begin. This is not medical advice. This is education. Your body is your responsibility, and you should always make decisions based on your own judgment and in consultation with professionals who know your specific health history. I also want to take a moment to address something that doesn't get talked about enough: the emotional side of losing leg power. It's easy to feel like your body has betrayed you. It's easy to feel embarrassed when you can't do things you used to do without thinking. It's easy to avoid movement altogether because you're afraid of falling, afraid of looking weak, or afraid of failing. But losing leg power is not a personal failure. It's a biological process that happens when the conditions are right for it to happen. And just as those conditions created the problem, new conditions can reverse it. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do everything right the first time. You just need to start and then keep going. Your body is extraordinarily resilient. Even after years of inactivity, even after significant decline, your nervous system is capable of adaptation. The pathways can be rebuilt, the muscles can be reactivated, the strength can return. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen without effort, but it will happen if you give it the chance. So here's where we are. You now understand that leg weakness after 50 is not inevitable, not irreversible, and not something that painkillers can fix. You understand that the real issue is neuromuscular deactivation, a breakdown in communication between your brain and your muscles that happens when movement becomes limited and repetitive. And you understand that the solution is not medication, but movement that restores function, rebuilds neural pathways, and reactivates the stabilizer muscles your body has stopped using. The 5 exercises I've shared with you are not complicated, but they are powerful. They address the root cause of declining leg power by teaching your nervous system how to control your body again. They improve balance, coordination, and strength in ways that directly translate to the movements you need in daily life. This is not about becoming an athlete. This is about restoring your ability to move through the world with confidence, stability, and independence. Your legs are capable of more than you think. Your nervous system is more adaptable than you've been told. And your body, at any age, is still listening. The question is whether you're ready to start the conversation.